Yes, yes, yes. We're gonna do our little Prydwen tier list react. You guys know I love to review the Prydwen tier list. It's always a good time when we review the Prydwen tier list, I think. So shall we take a look at the new 2.6 Prydwen tier list? And unfortunately, this does not include Arya, but there are some new changes into this tier list that I'm very, very excited for. Shall we take a look, gamers? Well, what do I see here? A little backtracking, huh? You know, Prydwen, no stranger to backtracking. No stranger to backtracking. I understand. We backtracked with Trigger. We're backtracking with Miyabi. I get it. It's okay. It's okay. Sometimes it is better to accept that we were kind of misaligned there. And now we're back. Now we're back. Folks, welcome to the 2.6 Zenless Zone Zero Prydwen tier list review. As you guys know, I use the tier list as a conversation starter. Right? It sets the table for some really, really good conversations, and we like to actually delve into the nuances of the characters, their relationships with each other, their relation to the current content, and really do a little bit, deeper investigation on whether these units are placed where they should be. And of course, what value does that bring to you? Let's dive into the 2.6 tier list now. And off of first impressions, folks, we're looking pretty solid. Off of first impressions, okay, that's a little crazy. I think this is a little crazy. I guess the partner tag really brings her up that much. I guess so. Yeah. And is this a prelude to Arya? Probably. We'll talk about it. But I'm very excited, and a lot of people have been egging me. Hey, Josh, check out the Prydwen tier list. Check out the Prydwen tier list. Because Miyabi is so back, baby. Cheers, everybody. It didn't take long. Let me tell you that much. It did not take long. Whoever doubted? Well, here's the thing. As you can see, she's now tagged with expert. So that gives you a little bit of a glimpse as to why they kind of readjusted her as so. And funny enough, Jshoea also with the expert tag. Watch listing Lycaon with the new potential awaken system. Harumasa is watched, which I'm very excited about. I definitely will be talking about Harumasa during this Prydwen tier list review. I'm a little bit surprised about Lycaon. We'll talk about why. Every other character overall pretty much stays the same, right? Alice, Vivian. Within your anomaly DPS section, we have Bernice, Jane Doe, Piper, and Yanagi. Makes sense. Gray stays in tier 2, which is just about right, and everybody stays pretty much pat. I don't think anybody moved really in the tier 1 to tier 3 section here, as far as I see. Yes. That's fine. All right. Well, let's do a little bit deeper dive, shall we? Let's take a look at the changelogs. This patch has just launched, and here's the list of the tier list changes. Sunna added to tier 0 as partner. As far as sports go, Sunna is an incredibly strong unit in her niche. Being amongst the best teammates for Guang and find yourself a spot amongst many attackers. Unfortunately, her restrictive additional ability, when I saw it, I didn't like it either. An emphasis on stun damage multiplier means she isn't necessarily the best for every attacker. And unlike other tier 0 units, lacks the flexibility to run across various teams. We don't think it'll remain this way. No, I'm going you. However, with her ability to trigger Ether Veil being important for the buffs or characters on the horizon, she'll likely fit in. As it stands, she could be considered tier 0 with partner tag or a 0.5 with potential for further improvements as the remaining angels come out. We've gone with the former, and we'll evaluate her and how she does with the full team when she's available. Yes, and I think personally, outside of even this, understand, Chad, that a lot of content right now is physical based, right? And that's why Guang, of course, not only is she an amazing attacker, but is why she's favored so. So being able to partner with the Apex attack unit as one of, if not the best supporting options, is incredible. Not only is one of your best comps Sunna, Dylan, and Guang, but you can actually go with the very ever so increasingly popularized wheelchair comp, which is pairing Zhao and Sunna with Guang, and both of them are actually going to work really, really well. So the reason why that is especially at the M0 level, this allows you to way more consistently get your Qingming sword stacks up, just because of how frequently amongst the two they're going to be able to generate their ether veils. And then of course you can you know, use EX specials and other stuff to, you know, get back 1 or 2 points, which is very, very nice. And if you're very economical about how you transition in and out of your burst windows and your reload times, you should be able to, you know, keep that flow of the inline states pretty consistent with both of them. It's pretty solid. So why isn't Zhao tier 0 then? Also, tier 0 isn't usually seen as a must-have. No. Yeah, but for the generalist people out there, right? For those who are like, oh yeah, tier 0. If you grab tier 0 units, you just win the game, right? They're must-haves. No. Are these units a league or 2 above the other units in their performance and in the ways they interact with the certain stages of the current meta? Yes. Must-haves? No. And understand that characters are only so good as those who support them, as well as those who frontline for them, right? And that goes both ways for the on-field characters and the off-field characters. They're only so good as the collection and the team you put them in and the various contents that they're able to cover. Hey folks, it's Post Josh here to tell you about the sponsor of this video, LD Shop. Now, LD Shop has been gracious enough to provide us with some fun perks while we top up to 35% off of our favorite games. Almost any mobile game you play can be found here with bundles for bundles. Wait, that's kind of genius. And off of your first purchase, LD Shop wants to make you a customer for your gacha stay. So they're giving you a top up starting at 22%. All you need to do is take your ID, region, and enter your payment method, which they have it all, and boom. Yeah, you can't miss out on even more savings because I have an additional 15% off code if you use the link below with an extra 5% coupon for later. Take a look at the internet passes. They are $3.60 versus your regular $5. That money adds up, folks. Well, make sure to drop by LD Shop by clicking the link in the description for exclusive perks and discounts. And thank you to LD Shop for sponsoring this video. Okay, Harumasa tier 1 watch list. I like this. Harumasa's Potential Awakening is not a weak one and can result in a plus 35% increase to his damage output when played optimally, which is a significant buff considering his previous numbers. Unfortunately, it's not quite evident whether or not he could perform on the same level as his competition like Soldier. Well, here's the thing. Unfortunately, Harumasa did not get an upgrade to his supporting cast. Soldier has Orphe and Trigger. Harumasa really hasn't gone that character. We have Ching-Yi, sure, we have Trigger, we have Nicole, we have Rina. These are all very, very, you know, much 1.0 units, or excuse me, 1.x units. Yudhari has a much wider spread of encounters she's strong for, and both Banya and Evelyn have the numbers to brute force content. So just again covering the field of the 0.5. So considering how hard it is to push Harumasa to his limits, we're open to the idea that the players will be able to showcase his ceiling in the coming weeks, so it'll be watch list in the case these changes are enough to bring it up. If not, however, he'll remain in tier 1, albeit in a very comfortable position. I think tier 1 is perfect for him. I think solidly, you know, strong tier 1 performance. Because he's actually slightly easier to use, he's a little bit more accessible, and his kit is actually more streamlined in the sense that, oh yeah, his ultimate actually is, you know, it's something that you should be using in the rainbow stun window. You should be building up his stacks to get his gleam, his 6 gleam stacks, go into the ultimate, refresh your gleam again, go into your dashes, go into your EXs. The kit is a little bit more streamlined. It is actually stronger in performance because with that streamlined kit, you have a roadmap of like, oh yes, okay, so once I do this, I get this buff. And then once I get this buff, I go here. So I would say even before, which he was already, you know, when I learned from R2, I was like, oh, okay, I can understand this line. Now, with this improved kit, with this new EX special patrol, I can very, very easily, much easier see now Harumasa's lines, which allows players to more easily access his top end potential. So even though he is, yes, still expert tier, don't get me wrong, but it's a little bit more streamlined how his kit wants to function now, and you will be rewarded for doing so. Does that take away from his skill expression? No, it does not. He's still very much a character to express your skill with. Don't get me wrong. He's still the top 3 most difficult units to use in the game. Harumasa doesn't lose out on anything. He gains. So I'm really liking the Harumasa bonuses. It doesn't really mess with a lot of what he does already and just adds on. It's very additional and allows him to do more fun shenanigans. I think Harumasa's upgrade, out of the many that we've had, arguably is one of the most well received, I think. So let's take a look at Lycaon, folks. Yes. Watch list up is interesting. Lycaon's potential awakening has opened him up to playing outside of ice teams, with a universal damage bonus on top of his stun damage multiplier, all while improving his day's application. Despite this, he's still likely to underperform when outside of ice, and in the teams he's already being run with, the buffs do not appear to bring with it the ability to hit new stun breakpoints. For those who don't know what that means, stunning is a results-based analysis. You either stun or you don't stun. It's not you're doing a percentage-based damage more. Throughout your run, you either get 3 stuns, 4 stuns, or you mess up and get 1 or 2 stuns. He does more damage though. He gave me a whole 2k points. And I'm very happy for you. I'm very happy for those 2k points. Because if you're at 18, right, then you get 20. That's 3 stars. Lycaon has always been a top dog for ice teams and holds his own, and his potentials do not seem to meaningfully change this to the point he moves up a tier. Still, it's too early to tell how accessible these changes can make him to the average player, and there's still room for optimizations in ice teams, especially far easier upkeeping of the Blazing Laurel. I talk about this in my early access. Well, it's not early access anymore because it's past the beta, but I am cooking up my Lycaon and Harumasa guide, and the Blazing Laurel is a huge highlight. This allows him to access quick assists. Really, really important, because one of the big things why Lycaon was kind of gatekept out of using the Blazing Laurel was because of that quick assist. You need to quick assist to access the impact bonus, which not a lot of characters could have, but now Lycaon can. So the Blazing Laurel, if you guys are like, oh, you know, I have Lighter, I have Blazing Laurel, and I'm using him on one side, I'm using Lycaon on a different team somehow, boom, right? For Hugo, Lycaon, Dialin, you could put the Blazing Laurel there, and then for Astra, Eve, Lighter, you just use the Blazing Laurel there. And that's 2 of the top attacker offensive teams that you can share one of the premium W engines for. Amazing stuff. Really, really, really good stuff. So, personally, this makes me want to pull for the Blazing Laurel. I missed out on the Blazing Laurel. I gotta pull on the Blazing Laurel now because it's good for Lighter. It's good for Lycaon. Both of them are pretty universal and pretty evergreen in what they're able to do and perform. And you see Lighter, reimagined. You see Lycaon reimagined multiple times over with a lot of the newer attack characters and potentially even some of the Rupture characters. So the Blazing Laurel to me actually becomes way higher value amongst the W engines that are valued in this day and age. So which is surprising. Really good for the Blazing Laurel. Actually, it's a buff to the Blazing Laurel. So he's being watchlist as an extent to which the change's impact his placement is not yet clear. And to go back to the point about the results-based analysis, one last thing with the Lycaon changes. This is kind of like surmising point about Lycaon, is that you want your stunner character to stun more. The reason why you go from Jufufu with a steamed oven to Jufufu with the crockpot, her signature, is because you can go from 3 stuns to 4 stuns comfortably in Miasma Priest. You can go to 4 stuns with Defiler or something. It is of a results-based analysis. Get it or you don't. So with Lycaon, yes, this is true. I've tested it. He does not gain more stun breakpoints with this increase in build. And in fact, weirdly enough, I've even tested it. I've even taken away some days and he's still kind of relatively done the same. And I actually advise in my guide, which is coming out pretty soon, I advise you guys to actually remove impact and actually go into other things like energy regen, go into things like anomaly mastery. And this leans into Lycaon's mantra about being a little bit more flexible, right? Being adept at many things, but not a master, which is honestly to Lycaon's strength at this point. being flexible, but not a master. That's my point on Lycaon. Honestly, I wouldn't watch list up. I would just keep him at tier 1. Even with his potential interactions with Arya, as now his additional ability works with Anomaly. So the presumed team would be Arya, Lycaon, Sunna, aside from Arya, Nangongyu, Sunna. Of course, that would be the ideal team. But before then, you can go Arya, Lycaon, Sunna. You can go Arya, Lycaon, Nangongyu, right? There's potential for that. Never going to really be the primary pick on most teams. So I would justify that as a tier 1, to be honest. I don't think we really need to watch list this. Anyways, Grace, watch listing. Tier 2. Grace, tier 2. Despite seeing a decent improvement with her potentials, has struggles to match up with the level of performance that the other revamped units have managed. Personally, I think it's because Electric has been one of the less highlighted elements of this entire patch, right? We've highlighted physical, we've highlighted ether. Some points we've highlighted fire, but not really. And then at the points that we've highlighted ice, you know, it hasn't really done well. So ice and electric have been probably the least highlighted elements. I think 3.x is going to change that. Now, this is very far into the future because we still have a couple months to go. But I think ice and electric are going to see a nice little renaissance going into 3.x. It has been beat down. Yes, it has been neglected. And I think arguable that I've mentioned before that I think the next Void Hunter is going to be electric. And thus, it'll raise the ships of the electric units. Sunbringer's electric, guys. Sunbringer's not the next Void Hunter. I'll eat my freaking toes if Sunbringer's the next Void Hunter. Here's the big swing. This is what we've been waiting for. Miyabi to tier 0. Miyabi has always been a difficult character to rate. She's undeniably a tier 0 unit. But tier lists are meant to reflect performance in recent content. In her previous assessment, it was clear that her results were held back by poor matchups, owing to the frequent ice and freeze anti-shield and meta that often prevented her from executing optimized combos. These factors made it hard to justify placing her alongside the most consistently dominant characters, even when played at the highest level, especially when compared to the likes of Yishen and Ye Kwang. However, as we revisit and re-evaluate Miyabi with more current data, our stance has shifted. While the range of encounters she can perform well in is narrower than the other Void Hunters, she remains the best anomaly agent when conditions allowed. When playing at a high level and given the right circumstances, Miyabi can reach true tier 0 potential. Because of this, we are now giving her the expert tag to better reflect her ceiling and potential, even if the level of play is only achievable in the dwindling proportion of encounters. Which I agree, there is a dwindling, range of encounters that Miyabi will truly excel in. Can she clear 3 stars in most content? Yes, and that's, to be honest, less having to do with her being an anomaly and her being a pseudo attacker character, right? You've seen the Miyabi hyper carry comps. You've seen it. Astriao, Trigger, the budget, Lighter, Lucy. So Miyabi being able to flex into those different roles, but she still is able to be flexible in that sense. And a character who doesn't tackle anything that has to do with miasma, which these two characters do at the top end here, Miyabi is still one of the top dogs. My stance didn't change, so I'm glad that we're able to kind of backtrack to that, which is nice. Outside of those particular characters, Harumasa, being in a good spot, I honestly think Lycaon should stay here. It's a low, a mid tier 1, to be honest. I don't think he needs to watch list. And then Grace being solidified here, this makes sense. So a lot of people initially jump on, oh, why is Miyabi tier 0.5? Well, it's because it's a reflection of the current meta. So I wasn't that worried when it came to their evaluation metrics, although were they off? A little bit, yes. But the meta shifts fast as units come in and out, right? And that's a little double-edged sword with Zenless, because it incentivizes you to use different types of teams and different types of playstyles. Yet if you don't have those playstyles and those teams, you don't have the units, you're shut out of luck. The meta hasn't changed since the last list though. Well, it hasn't changed yet. I think going into next month, next 2-3 months, we're going to see a little shifting, a little bit of shift, a little shifting action, a little bit of, you might get an ankle breaker or two, but the overall overarching content is in favor of physical and ether right now. And Miyabi still being able to perform at the level she does, honestly warrants a tier 0. We'll give you a few flowers, not the whole bouquet, but we'll give you a few flowers, Prydwen. But what did you guys think of this Prydwen tier list? Let me know down in the comments. You're going to do a little bit more meta talking, a little bit more character guides, builds, Q&As, stuff like that, all on our live streams over on Twitch and YouTube. So make sure to join our live streams now. Okay, honestly, we're probably live while you're watching this video, so go check out our streams. Okay, go subscribe to the channel. It's your boy Josh. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you guys in the next one. Bye then.